Hello. Today we're going to be starting to talk about the Christmas story. And so we're going to be actually talking about it for the next 4 weeks. And it's got so many important things in it that we wanted to break it down and talk a little bit slower about some of the key parts. Now, the first part that I wanted to bring up is that the story of Christmas, the real story of Christmas, not the one that sometimes you see on television and in the cartoons, but the real story is in the Bible in two places. It's in a book called Matthew and a book called Luke. And it starts at the very beginning of both of those books. So Matthew 1 and Luke 1. Now in Luke 1, we meet some characters that are really important in the story, but there's one that I want to focus on today, and his name is Gabriel. And Gabriel is an angel who has a very, very special job from God, and that is when God has an important message to get to the earth, sometimes he sends the messenger Gabriel. And so Gabriel came first of all in Luke 1. He came to a man by the name of Zachariah. Now, Zachariah and his wife Elizabeth were older and they had never been able to have a baby and were very sad about that. But Angel Gabriel came to Zachariah while he was working in the temple and said, Zachariah, you're going to be able to have a baby. And Zachariah doubted him. And because he doubted him, Gabriel basically said, excuse me, I am the angel Gabriel. I work in the presence of God all the time, and because of that, you won't be able to speak until the baby is born. Sure enough, he couldn't talk, but they were going to be having a baby. And when the baby was born and when they decided on the baby's name, Elizabeth told to everyone that the baby was John, and everybody wondered because nobody else in the family had that name. But Zachariah motioned that yes, indeed, the baby's name was to be John, and at that moment Zachariah could talk. And then he told his wonderful story about how the angel had come to him, and that John became John the Baptist, a very, very important person in our story that we'll talk about in a few weeks. Now, the other person that we hear about in Luke that an angel came to is Mary. Now, I think most of you know that that was Jesus's mother, but at the time, she wasn't married, and when the angel Gabriel came and said, you're going to have a baby, she was like, but how can that be? So just like Zachariah had doubted, Mary doubted. And Gabriel said, nothing is impossible with God. And sometimes we as humans forget that when God says something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And we can be excited that we can be a part of making those things happen. Now, the third person that we hear about that the angel came to was Joseph. But he didn't come in person. He came to Joseph in a dream to make sure that Joseph knew that the baby that Mary was having was going to be the Son of God. And so that Joseph would be a part of that whole process and would help be his earthly father and help to take care of him as he was growing up. Now, the other thing that I haven't mentioned about angels is that angels, we think, might be a little scary when you first meet them. And the reason I say that is that every time they came to someone, especially Gabriel, they would always start off by saying, fear not. And isn't that cool that we don't need to fear, that God has everything worked out for us and God has a plan. And so as we go into this time of Christmas this year, let's remember that first of all, God has these wonderful helpers called angels who are there to bring the good news about Jesus. But we can be God's helpers too and let other people know how much God loves them and that all things are possible through God. Now, to help you remember the story of the angel, I have a craft for you, as always. So there's a plain piece of paper, and what I'd like you to do is to, starting at the top, fold it in little tiny pleats, back and forth and back and forth. So it goes like once to the front and then back and forth. So it just keeps going back and forth and back and forth. So that by the time you get done, it looks like this. So I've gone all the way from the top to the bottom, making the pleat. Then I'm going to take it and fold it in half, and that's going to be angel wings that I'm going to use in just a minute. You'll also find in your kit there is a outline of an angel. Now I put 2 little holes, and I'll explain why in just a second. And you can go ahead and decorate your angel if you want to, and put some pieces on, give Gabriel, or if you want to make your angel a different name, you can. And then there's also this chenille wire. So take the wire and you're going to just take a small piece of it and wiggle it back and forth and make it go around in a circle or whatever until it breaks apart. And the cool thing is the wire inside will just break, and then you've got two pieces. Now, if you take the long piece, this is why the holes are there. If you take them and poke them right through the middle where like her waistband would be, you can stick the wire should go right through where that is. In fact, you could even use the end of the wire to poke the holes if you want to. So I've got this becomes the waist, and then I just poke it through the wings wherever I want to. So I'm just going to go ahead and poke here through, and let me show you how this works when it gets done. So I'll be back in just a second. Once you have poked through the waistband, you just poke it through the back of the wings, and then you have something that you can actually hang your angel on if you want to hang your angel up. And then I just took the small piece of chenille wire and folded it in a circle, or made it into a circle, so that way I have a halo on top of my angel. So I just added a face, and I used the waist to connect it to the wings and put a halo on it, and I have my own angel. Now, not only do you get to have an angel like that, but also I gave you a cookie. And if you break the cookie in half so it's in two pieces, if you turn it upside down, it sort of looks like angel wings. So I thought it might be fun to pretend that these are angel wings to remind us that God has a special message for us too, that he loves us and he is always, always with us.